Finding that stillness and that okayness in yourself, which is another gift of recovery, is that I don't actually have anything to hide anymore. I'm not doing anything wrong, and I'm okay. Like, I'm okay, inherently, I'm okay, even in situations where there's chaos and like that space for breath.
Stories are powerful.
Welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast, brought to you by The Phoenix. This is a space where people impacted by substance use can come to share their story of strength and resilience, get open and honest, and inspire hope and build community through shared experience.
We'll be talking to people in our community on their own recovery journey and shine a light on the topic of recovery in all its forms. Maybe you'll hear some of your story in theirs.
Let's show the world that together we rise, recover, and live.
Hey, everybody, this is Andy Short. You might remember me from episode 34 of this very podcast. I am here to talk a little bit about Pride season at the Phoenix. As a member of the LGBTQ plus community, I know it can be hard to find sober or recovery-focused Pride spaces. Phoenix is here to change that. We got hundreds of events across the country for y'all, in person, online, social events, workouts, hikes, all kinds of amazing celebrations for the community. So come on out. If you can hear the sound of my voice, I love you personally, the person who is listening. You are loved by me. Create the space with us, and let's have an amazing Pride season. And how you can do that, it's pretty easy. Just go to your local app store, download the Phoenix app, see what's happening nearby or online, and come on out.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. We are your hosts, Bryce III, he, him pronouns.
And Liz McKean, she, her pronouns.
And why is this episode so special, Liz?
Well, I think everything is special when I get to be sitting right next to you in real life. And that voice that I do, I did the same thing last time we were next to each other. I can't seem to not do that. That's my excited I'm next to Bryce voice.
That's the excitement voice. Also, the fact that we are in New York right now.
New York City.
Yeah, we are in a hotel room overlooking, where we're at, Manhattan?
We're in Chelsea. Yep. Which is a very cool neighborhood that I've been wandering the last 24 hours. And yeah, it's been really cool. Yeah, we're accidentally not in the same hotel, but we make it work.
It'd be like that sometimes. And I think that's what we want to talk about today. We want to do like some tips.
Yeah. I think we're going to do a bunch of episodes like this, but they're going to be little snack-sized episodes with, and tips might not even be the right word for it, because we've talked about in anything that we do on this podcast, like we can speak from our own experience and like give some tools that have worked for us. Mm-hmm. But whenever I think of tips, I think of things that are, might be universally helpful. And there might be things that I know that there's things that I do, to just maintain and celebrate my own recovery and sobriety that wouldn't necessarily work for someone else. So I guess maybe this is just like the start of the conversation and sharing our tools, our personal tools for walking this path.
Yeah, sort of like a deeper element of storytelling.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I've navigated these things in recovery, and we welcome you all to share what your experience has been.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like that's the thing that this podcast is so good for, and these conversations are so valuable for, is to be open about things that maybe are hard, and know that you're not alone in that being hard. And also, guess what? I experienced this hard thing maybe a little bit sooner than you did, and I've got some things that worked. So maybe it doesn't have to be as hard for you as it was for me. And also just like an invitation to give yourself grace, because there are things to navigate in recovery that are navigatable, but also worth talking about.
Yeah. So we just found it pretty cool to have another touch point with you all and be able to pop in like an extra little bonus episode and talk about different things that are variables of life and recovery and how we've been able to navigate it.
So since we are currently traveling, the first area that we thought we'd talk about would be traveling. So travel when sober or when in recovery, and how that might differ from traveling before. And I know for me, it was an enormous difference, and I've needed to create a lot of tools and strategies that help me to feel safe on the road. So I'm excited to talk about it. How about you?
Yeah. I'm really ready to get into it. I think, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that like sobriety for me has opened up the opportunity to travel. Like I didn't even travel like that when I was in active addiction, just because like my focus wasn't leading me towards being able to move around and see different things. I wasn't focused on expanding my mindset. I wasn't focused on expanding my cultural appreciation. I wasn't focused on seeing anything different other than what it is that I had seen. That wasn't my focus. So I think I want to acknowledge that it is one of the promises, one of the blessings, one of the privileges, one of the honors to be able to move around the country and soon enough, like outside of the country, due to my sobriety and my recovery.
Heck yeah. That's so true. Yeah, that mobility and that ability to have other priorities than, where that next fix is going to come from. I certainly never wanted to travel with someone who wasn't going to want to drink like I did. I didn't want to travel to a place where that wasn't going to be a focus. And if that was a possibility, I would find ways to work it in. And that took so much brain power that it would take away from any other cool things that could have happened in travel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so much freedom. And with that freedom comes sometimes triggers.
Yeah, triggers, new challenges. When you change the environment, when you change the culture, things might shift a bit. And, learning how to navigate those things is, I think, or at least for me and my personal recovery, has been one of those welcome challenges, but a challenge nonetheless.
Yeah.
So, like, what are some specific things that you've dealt with when it comes to traveling and being in recovery?
Yeah. So it was almost surprising to me to realize how much I had associated travel with drinking. I don't know why that was surprising, because everything was about drinking. But I remember the first time I booked a flight in sobriety, and I just immediately was looking for layovers, because I used to make sure that I had a layover, because it would be possibly the only time, if I've left home, I've been on a plane, and now I'm in some airport in some city where I don't live and I don't know anybody, and I'm still got another airplane to get on. There's endless bars, no matter what time of day it is. It would be like my opportunity to just like go hard. And so I always looked for layovers. And so the first time I started to schedule a flight, and I was like, oh, I could just take a one-way flight. I don't have to stop anywhere. Like I could just go all the way and not have to stop somewhere. And that felt weird, because it was almost like an instinct that I hadn't realized that I had. The funny thing about it is that when I started flying and taking some longer flights, I realized, oh wait, I actually do need that little bit of break in between. I break up my flights. I know anytime we go to Denver, everybody's always looking for the what's it called, nonstop.
Yeah. The nonstop, yeah.
And I struggle to be on a plane for more than a couple hours at a time, and that has to do with my anxiety. So anxiety was a part of my life far before I even picked up a drink, and then it had a lot to do with my drinking and the way that I drank. And now that it's separate, I'm able to like hone back in on tools for anxiety. And that's incredibly important, because when my anxiety is managed, then my recovery is in a safer space. So to now be like, all right, I do sometimes need to break up those longer flights. I don't need 3 hours, in an airport in between flights, but I do want to give myself a moment to stretch my legs and use the restroom and get something to eat and, find a quiet corner and take a few breaths. That has actually been a really great strategy for me. And it makes flights cheaper sometimes too. So
yeah,
side bonus. Yeah.
No, that's unique in a way that I would never like purposely not choose a nonstop flight.
Know, yeah.
But it's like, I think it's indicative of like everybody needs what it is that they need, and there is no right way to do anything.
Yeah.
And how you hear about like certain practices, and it'd be like, maybe I need to do that too. It's like, well, maybe you don't, because you're not that person.
Right.
But that's what comes with the ability to be self-aware, which is inherent in recovery.
Well, self-aware, and then also to be okay saying it out loud. Because I know that I've had conversations when I say that, usually people kind of have the reaction that you do, which is like, oh, like, well, I don't want that. I want to have a nonstop flight. Like that's different. And to be able to be like, yeah, it's just better for my anxiety. Like, and here's why. And to be able to like put words to that, without any kind of shame surrounding it, and actually some pride knowing that I've found a thing that makes me feel better and makes me feel safer, and I do it and I stick to it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
I think the only real tip that I could think of to leave on the floor today would just be to allow time. Like, especially for me, and if we're talking about like the things that we deal with, like being attention deficit diagnosed, not allowing myself time allows for my anxiety and my frustration and my lack of patience to really kick in and be triggered. And so like getting to the airport, if I'm at the airport, I got to be there, an hour or two early just to make sure, giving myself maybe like a week in advance before I begin to pack, or like at least start meditating on what I'm gonna pack and like what the nature of the travel is, like in enough time to allow myself space to kind of get that thing together. Because otherwise, like, especially security could be a very triggering thing for a lot of people. Yeah. And I see it so much when I'm in the lines, and I be chilling for real, but it's because I give myself that space to kind of cultivate peace before I even get to security. It was like, even if you pull me to the side and you flip my stuff inside out, it's like I'll be okay, because I kind of like expect whatever to happen. And it's like I prepare myself spiritually for that. Like that's big for me. And that's like one of the things that has helped me to have like peaceful travel. Because a lot of times where we have these experiences out and about, like there's things to be frustrated about, and there's this extra layer, this other element of I'll add to the frustration, where it's like, oh, this thing didn't go how I planned, and now the whole trip is ruined, or now I'm just, and then being in that energy allows for like more things to get messed up, because now you're not even paying attention to where you're going, or, maybe you could have made your flight, but the way that, you were rushing and frustrated, you were being mean to the security person, and that security person didn't like to be being mean to, so they pulled you to the side even more. Now you got to go to the back room, I've learned in recovery that I don't have control over people, places, things, nor do I have control over an environment. But what I do have control over is my attitude. And a lot of times I've seen that attitude play a role in cultivating an environment that allows for me to excel. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing you say, that you're giving yourself a lot of grace. In addition to just, actual space. And then you're also giving, the people around you grace. And then there's this just acceptance of that you don't have control over everything that's happening around you, but finding that stillness and that okayness in yourself, which is another gift of recovery, is that I don't actually have anything to hide anymore. I'm not doing anything wrong, and I'm okay. Like, I'm okay, inherently, I'm okay, even in situations where there's chaos, and like that space for breath.
Yeah, in the midst of chaos.
In the midst of chaos.
A lot of times we think we got to go off to a mountain somewhere where there's nobody, no music, no nothing, and that's where we'll find serenity. But oftentimes I found that recovery has required me to discover how to have serenity in the midst of chaos, in the midst of things burning down, and just not be an addition to the flame, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense.
And so we just wanted to kind of pop on and do a quick tip episode, try something new. This is the first of many. This is an opportunity for us to have another touch point. Mm-hmm. And I think job well done. We accomplished what we set out to do. Huh?
I think so too. Yeah. Go team go from New York. We're live from New York. It's Rise, Recover, Live. We should have started that way. Yeah, no, I think we did it. And I think, there's so much more to be said about travel. Like we kind of stuck to really, flying really has been the topic of this episode. So I think there's room where we can talk about more things. And this is a place that we definitely need you. Let us know what areas you are interested in. And, we just want to have these conversations as much as possible, because there's as many stories as there are people who need to hear them.
Yeah, and the best way they could do that is hop on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Go grab the Phoenix app. And then when you grab the Phoenix app, which gives you access to the community, to, a whole bunch of different programming locally and virtually, hop on the community group for Rise, Recover, Live, the podcast. Come in there, you could talk to Liz and I and really tell us what it is that you've appreciated about this new type of contact with you all, this new touch point. And let us know, like, what are some travel tips that you've discovered and cultivated as you've been in recovery, or what are some things that you are maybe worried about? I know one thing for me is like Scotland or like Ireland, where like maybe to be offered a drink is to like show love. And if I decline that drink, will I be being disrespectful? And this is a question that I don't have an answer to yet, but it's something that I've thought about. Like, dang, should I go to Dublin? Like, is that something that I need to be worried about? So it's like, if you have anything like that you're wondering or are curious about, like, throw that in a chat, and then we'll figure out how to continue this conversation around this.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we can't wait to hear from you. And thank you for being here with us. We wish you were here with us because it's a pretty cool place to be. Be sure you subscribe. Don't miss a single episode. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, it gets this out there for more people to hear. We appreciate you so much.
And we'll catch you next time on another episode of Rise, Recover, Live.
See ya.
So now you're excited. Bryce, Liz, how do I get involved with the Phoenix? Well, my friend, it is super simple. We actually have an app. Head over to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or look in the show notes of this podcast, wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, and go download the Phoenix app.
The Phoenix app makes it so easy to find classes that are near you or to access our virtual class schedule where you can hop on from the comfort of your home. You can also join our groups and have a conversation with someone from the Phoenix community from anywhere in the world. Please make sure that you join the podcast group where you can connect with Bryce and I and other listeners. Everything that you need is in the show notes. You can also head to our website at www.thephoenix.org. And maybe while you're there, you click the volunteer tab and get even more involved.